Hey y'all, I believe we are live. I'm trying to film horizontal, but it won't let me. It's just making me do vertical. So anyways, we're filming vertical today. Welcome back to Harmon Homestead. Guys, I told you all last night that we were going to do a live stream Q&A. So I'm going to wait for some people to pop on in and join the chat. This is all about gardening, chickens, prepping, and preserving. And I've written down some questions here that people have emailed us over the past several weeks. We are getting tons of questions. People are needing help with certain topics, so that's why we're here. So we're just going to hash it all out together, okay, guys? So here on Harmon Homestead, we grow our own food, we raise chickens, we have ducks, we've done quail, and we prep. We stock up for any kind of emergency. We enjoy doing that. We love it, to be honest. We grow our own food. We preserve our own food. We do so many things here on this homestead. So a lot of questions come into play, and a lot of people are trying to learn this lifestyle. So we're going to get after it one question at the time. If y'all be my eyes and ears, if for any reason you see spam in here, please report it. Just get it on out. The last time I did a live stream, we had some of that, and it was very hard to talk to you guys and do that too. So if you have questions as well, put them in the comments here so I can see on the live chat, and I'll go back and I'll answer those the best that I can if I don't get to them, if I can't see them, because I'm going to be reading off this sheet here. So grab you a cup of coffee, grab you a cup of tea, and we're going to do this live stream. Okay, number one question, why do you plant so many varieties of plants? Well, guys, when I started this 4 years ago, I didn't know what was what. I had heard of certain varieties, but I didn't know how they would grow, and I went out and did the best I could getting these types of varieties, and a lot of them didn't do well for us. So I'm still in the experimental phase. I'm trying to see what plants grow best here. I'm trying to see what does well, and honestly, it keeps your curiosity piqued. If you grow something different every growing season and you have never grown that before, it keeps your interest piqued. It keeps you out in the garden. You're growing something cool like a black tomato or a purple potted bush bean, something like that that's just totally different. Now, I always say your tried and true varieties are usually the best things to grow, but sometimes it's just fun growing other things. A lot of varieties that we have grown that are tried and true here have not done well because of the time I have planted it as well. So a lot of times, if I don't feel comfortable planting something at a certain time, I'll hold off and I'll wait for a shorter season variety plant. Just different things. It's mainly with tomatoes. Otherwise, we plant just standard variety plants here on the homestead. So mainly, honestly, I didn't know what I was doing in the get-go, and I just thought certain names looked cool and certain plants, and I've just kind of stuck with it down through the years. I've eliminated a lot of it, but this year I'm going to grow more different things than I ever have before. So, you know, it's your form of art in your garden. You go out there and you do what you want to do, okay? So that's why we do. Number two, can you help us on beans? You talk about growing bush and pole. What's the difference? Your favorite varieties, and why do you grow both? First of all, a bush bean is something that is short and compact that grows to the ground. Bush beans produce very quickly. They'll produce probably, I'm going to say, anywhere from 3 good pickings to 6 pickings. Sometimes you can get more than that, and on the variety that we grow, and they're done. Beans add nitrogen into the ground, whether they're bush or pole, which is great for your plants that you have in the ground. Now, pole beans must have a trellis. They must have something to climb up and grow on. We plant contender bush beans and rattlesnake pole beans. The rattlesnake pole beans we usually plant a little bit later on. They do well in heat. They do well in humidity. So the rattlesnake pole beans are the way to go for us here in Alabama. Now, my husband likes those because he doesn't have to bend over. He's very tall. He doesn't have to stoop over and pick those beans. I like the bush beans because they grow so quick. Within 55 days, you've got to harvest. They're always my number one thing in the garden to produce. And the very first thing, bush beans. They're great. They're easy. They're quick. You can turn them over really quick and put something else there. The pole beans, you have to have a cattle panel, trellis, something like that to run them up. He likes those because you don't have to bend over. But again, the rattlesnake pole beans do better with heat and humidity. Now this year, believe it or not, I told you I'm going to switch my garden up completely. We are going to do Cherokee Trail of Tears beans. I'm going to hopefully try to seed save off those and plant those this year. I don't know how well they'll do, but I'm going to at least say I tried them, and I'm going to let them run up corn. So you can do that. You can do that with the Three Sisters garden. It's going to be hard to do that, but I'm going to try to do that this year. The rattlesnake pole beans are just, they can't tolerate it. They have to have a massive amount of support because they are so thick. I know that ours have grown 7 to 10 feet in length. I mean, they just get into a wad, a mass. I've noticed more of the little bugs on the rattlesnake pole beans than our bush beans, but that's just me. I'm a bush bean girl. My husband likes the pole beans, so it's really just what you grew up around. But the beans are the same. Rattlesnake pole beans, now they have strings. My bush beans, the contenders, do not have strings. No. So that's just, again, that's a preference where you have to snap the ends and string them down. So that's a preference. You can plant any color pole bean, any color bush bean. I've tried pink, I've tried purple, I've tried yellow wax. I'm going to tell you, contender is the best that we have ever grown. A lot of people like Roma 2 bush beans. A lot of people like, oh, what is it? Blue Lake bush beans. I've grown both of those. I'm going to tell you, contender, it will outproduce anything. I think this year I put up, well, I told you in the video how many quarts I did, but I'm trying to say just off of bush beans, I'm going to say 40 quarts, and that was off 90 feet. I'm not kidding. They are prolific here where we live. And this is all raised bed gardening, guys. This is not in our pasture garden. Okay, next question. Please explain to me about tomato blight. Guys, that's been a huge video for us. I just sat down in the garden. I tried to tell you what I figured out about these tomatoes, and a lot of people joined in this channel because of tomato blight. So when we first started tomatoes, I started with just regular varieties. They did okay. The next year I did all heirloom. They all rotted. I thought they had blossom end rot. They did not. They had tomato blight. I've talked about tomato blight and Septoria leaf spot. Both of those are a fungal disease on your tomatoes. So this year, what I have done is I videoed the results. I tried to outlast the blight because the blight will just completely tear down your plants. It'll kill them. So we found some things that work, and I'm going to tell you what to do next year. So the tomato blight will literally eat your plant up. It will attack the leaves, and the plant can't get chlorophyll, can't grow, and then your tomatoes start rotting. That's the problem. It's the actual plant. This stuff, it's a fungus, so it spreads by contact. By wind, it's spores everywhere. This stuff overwinters in the ground. It's not good. Usually once you have it, you're going to have it. So I figured we might as well learn how to combat this stuff because we're going to have it from here on out. So things that you can do. First thing, your garden tools, you need to clean them. This is a great time of year to do that. You need to clean your garden tools, and you need to look up what to clean it with. We use a bleach solution with ours. You look up and see what you want to use. Garden tools. Next, I would recommend, honestly, and I'd never thought about this until last night. I said, let me think what I can really tell people to help them. I would clean, if I had the time, my tomato cages. Now, we probably have 75 tomato cages here with the concrete reinforcement wire that we've made, but really, because that stuff is contact, so it's sitting on all that, and it's going to overwinter more than likely. So if you've got the time, I would clean those cages. Next year, what we're going to do with transplants, when we put them into the ground, brand new, I am going to spray them with copper. Copper is an antifungal for this tomato blight. Spray them when you first plant them. That's what I've never done before. Someone recommended that to my husband. That's what we're going to do. Next, I'm guilty of this as guilty can be. I cram my tomato plants together. I do. I cram all my plants together. Last year, I've shown you pictures, videos, or this year, it was just a jungle out in my raised beds. You couldn't even walk through it. I am the world's worst. I just want to get as much food as I can. That's me. So, you're not supposed to do that. You need to plant your tomato plants at least 3 feet apart. And guys, a lot of these that I showed you were 3 feet apart. They just grew that massive. Don't cram them together. Next thing, you want good airflow. That's why you want to space these tomato plants apart. Prune, 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 prune. What I did this year is I pruned these plants. That way they could get good airflow. I left just enough leaves to get chlorophyll. That was it. I I got the leaves off there. You don't want anything touching the ground, water splashing back up. They recommend not watering from overhead. You need to do a drip irrigation system or water the base of the plant. I've tried to water the bases of the plants, but guys, rain falls from the top. You're going to get this stuff. It's inevitable, okay? A lot of people do. Mulch. A lot of people recommend mulch. We don't here. It is so hot on these roots of these plants. Mulch is not a good thing. The plants just are too hot. They can't cool, especially in our raised beds. So I don't do that. I don't mulch. Copper spray. Copper spray. I've used Captain Jack's and another kind. It worked. Spray and prune. Spray and prune. And last but not least, the key to all this is you have to fertilize these tomato plants. And I mean sock it to it to have them outgrow this stuff. That's the whole point. The copper is not going to cure it, it's going to keep it from spreading. So in the meantime, while you're trying to not get it on those new leaves, fertilize, fertilize, fertilize. Try to get that plant to outgrow where you can prune off the bad once it keeps spreading. It's not going to cure it. It's going to get your plant eventually, but by the time I pulled my tomato plants up, most of them were 10 feet in length this year. So, and I had 150 quarts of, or pints of stuff canned from tomatoes. So I think we've done well with that. I would like to continue with the same technique. And also, last but not least, I used a copper pipe, small copper pipe that was cut in about 6-inch strips. Put that at the base of a lot of these plants. They did better than the ones that I did not put that beside, because the copper will be down at the roots. Hopefully keeps it at bay. I don't know how it works. I just figured copper anywhere. I even did a copper penny at the base of one. He was my last plant that I pulled up. He did better than the rest. So I don't know, but it worked for us. Anything copper. All right, chickens. Let's get on chickens. Help us hatch. Somebody emailed me this question. We are struggling with hatch rates. And guys, we've got an email. It's Harmon Homestead. It's in the description of our channel when you click on it. And that's where most of these have been coming from. We are struggling with hatch rates. We have a Hovabator incubator, and our chicks are pipping but not unzipping and coming out of the shell. Our humidity stays 80% during lockdown. Where are we going wrong? Okay, I have Hovabator incubators. I have 3 Hovabator incubators. That's what I first started out with, was a Hovabator. It's the styrofoam box. It does great. I have 3 Hovabators and 1 Matacoop X. Beautiful. All of them are great, okay? So where are you going wrong? Your humidity is way too high, way too high. For the first 18 days, your humidity needs to be 45 to 55%. The last 3 days during lockdown, it needs to be 55 to 65. Now, in my Hovabator, it has trays, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 and 4 is like for pheasants or geese or something like that takes extra humidity. That's for a chicken. You need tray 1 and tray 2. It's just little grooves in the plastic tray. Day 1 through 18, just fill up the first tray. That's it. A little bit of water. If your humidity runs a little bit low, that's okay. Don't fill this stuff up to the brim where it's just overflowing. I would rather have a little less humidity and can add to it than too much. And you do this by adding water. Just tap water is fine. During lockdown, do not add that second tray all the way up to the brim. You're going to have too high of humidity. You're going to be right at 65, maybe a little bit over if you do. And then when all these chicks start hatching, they are moist. They release moisture into the air when they hatch. Your humidity bumps up every time a chick hatches. It doesn't matter what your humidity is. So that's why if you're staying at 80, it's way too high. You're getting shrink wrap chicks. And guys, that is our #1 video. That and Dollar Tree stackable planters. How to help a shrink wrap chick. The best way to help one is to not have one. And to run your humidity a little bit lower on the lower side. Then you can bump it up. Even once you get in lockdown mode and you add that extra water and you close the lid and you're not supposed to turn the eggs or touch it for the last 3 days and let them hatch. The first 2 hours, if your humidity is not where you really want it, just say it's at 56, open it up and add some more water. It's fine. They'll hatch, okay? You can still open that lid. Just don't be turning your eggs and opening it continuously. You need to limit movement in there. But chicks are very, very moist. So when they hatch, everything in there just goes haywire and your humidity bumps up. Let's see here. I said try less water, possibly less eggs in your load. Usually, if I run my incubator to capacity, you're going to have a whole lot of humidity during hatching. And so what that means is you're going to be more prone to shrink wrap chicks. The more eggs you have in there hatching, if that makes sense. If I put 12 eggs in my incubator, probably going to have a better success rate than if I put 36. There's more room for error the more that you hatch at the same time. So I also candle very frequently. A lot of people say don't do that. Someone asked us that too. I wrote that down. What kind of candler do you use? Egg candler. All it is a flashlight, but it's got a flat base that you can set an egg on. I use a Magic Fly candler. I got it off Amazon. It was less than 20 bucks several years ago. Works great. You can see inside the egg. A lot of people don't have chicks hatch because they don't candle along the way. They don't make sure that the chick is growing, or they don't know what to look for. Guys, I have a whole playlist on chickens. A whole playlist. I have probably hatched, I know, well over 1,000 chicks. Probably 1,500, if truth be told. So I know what I'm looking for, I know what to do, and I know what to tell you to look for. So look at those videos. You have to look at your air cell. You can see a heartbeat. You can see the growth. You can tell if one's not moving or if it just doesn't look right. Blood rings, things like that. Go look at the videos. You need to candle, because if you're not candling and you just expect them to hatch, every batch of eggs that I have ever hatched, there's always duds. Always. Doesn't matter what kind of chicken, that you will always have bad eggs in a hatch that you're incubating, always, that you have to throw out because they're just not viable. So you need to look at those videos and see, but that may be one reason that your humidity is not as well either. So anyways, that's just what we do. I personally candle every 2 days. People say don't do that. I do. I want to see those little chicks and see how they're growing. And if you are new to this, candle frequently. Candle every day. That way you'll learn the growth, and you'll see all of these eggs starting to look the same, and you'll understand what they're supposed to look like. Then you can kind of back off on your candling. You'll get more confident and know what you're looking for. But if you're new to it, I candle every day. Just don't leave the lid off on your incubator while you're doing it. Pull the eggs out, keep them warm, do it quick while the lid's still on the incubator, and then put them back in. That's it. That's what we do. All right, what predators do we need to prepare for with chickens? Well, y'all, chickens are at the bottom of the food chain. So if it walks, talks, eats, sleeps, and breathes, it's a predator to your chickens. I've had people message me about bears. I've had people message me about coyotes. What we have had down here are worst predators. Number one would be raccoons. Now, we live very close to a creek. Pretty large creek, so that's Raccoon Alley, okay? Raccoons are crafty. They'll get in your coops. Secondly, possums. Raccoons are still number one for us. We've had possum attacks. That's everywhere you go, guys. A lot of people have armadillos. They have skunks. Now, thankfully, knock on wood, everywhere, we have not had a skunk sign anywhere in this yard. I've smelled one at the mailbox this summer, and our mailbox is way on down the road. But we've never had that, thankfully. People have minks, weasels get in their coops. We don't have that. We have raccoons, possums, chicken hawks. Chicken hawks are a huge problem if you free range, or if your pen does not have a roof on top, any kind of enclosure. And last but not least, guys, you'd never think it, but neighborhood dogs. Neighborhood dogs are just not good for chickens. Now, down here, our neighborhood, when I say neighborhood, it's from one hilltop to the next. You could barely see somebody's security light at night. It's a wonder we even have security lights down here in the sticks. These dogs will travel. So I'm not talking about a cookie cutter subdivision. I'm talking about these dogs travel. Now, we live in stray country. People drop off random dogs here. That's what they do. We've got a pet right now, Buddy. He was a stray. People dropped him off in our yard. I understand that, but these dogs are terrible for chickens. So that would be your worst predator to me, would be a dog, because a raccoon's not going to tear up your coop. A possum's not going to tear up your coop. A dog will demolish a coop. So a bear, anything heavy. And I'm going to tell you something else we've had lately. It's been in our yard probably about 3 weeks at night, and that's going to be a bobcat. We have a bobcat down here, and that's making me a little bit nervous with these chickens. I think the pen is secure enough. My husband tried to fix them all after the dog attack that we had several years ago, but I don't know. I mean, it very easily could be breached, especially by a bobcat, because those can be kind of small, enough to get in, a pen. So I'm trying to read the comments here, guys. Raccoons are the worst for me. Hey, Hilltop. No, you're great. Good to see you. How's the weather down there? It's wet today. If I could turn the camera, it looks like snow, but it's not that cold. We're supposed to get some bad weather today. I don't know if we'll get it or not. I hope we don't, but it's pretty wet down here. We need it. The drought's bad. I looked at our pond yesterday. It's low. It's rough. So anyways, next. Someone asked last night, they said, do you raise meat birds? And if so, what kind? No, we do not. We raise dual purpose birds. So I do not go for just the straight Cornish cross, stuff like that. I do not. We go for dual purpose. And the reason being is because I just thought they were pretty in the beginning. I talk about these blue lace red Wyandottes, silver lace Wyandottes, golden lace Wyandottes. They're a huge chicken. They do great in cold weather. They are fat. They do great. They grow quick. Their eggs are big. They're as big as a Rhode Island Red, and they're great. But if I decided to process those, we do. So I do not. We don't specifically raise meat birds. Now we do freezer camp. That's what we do, but we don't set out for that. It's just we have done it and still do it along the way. So someone asked us, what kind of chickens do you have? We have, it would take me 30 minutes to explain all these. So we have, let me start out, we've got Muscovy ducks. If we could go back, we said we'd get more ducks. The ducks have been great. They're quiet. These Muscovies don't have vocal cords, so they can't quack. They can't do anything. They don't bother my garden plants while they free range. That's the main thing. Right now, my chickens are pinned up because they've eaten all my kale. They're trying to eat my turnip greens. I want to be able to garden. I cannot get my garden chicken proof. I can't. We've got a fence 6 foot high, and they climb up it, they fly over it. It may just be to where I have to keep them up. I still think free ranging is the best option with these animals, but I do not like them in my garden at all. So that's been a battle all summer. We've got Muscovy ducks. We've got silkies. My husband does not care for the silkies. He says they're cute, but they're not for him. To me, those have been the best animals we've got, and people want those. I always tell you, get something that someone else doesn't have. We're known for our silkies around here, so that has helped us. Americanas, I did a whole video on that. I didn't get any backlash, but I actually lost subscribers over that video. I was trying to tell everybody the truth about Americana chickens, and they, to me, are just not the bee's knees. So, it is what it is. We've got those. We're going to see how these hens do. We have olive eggers. We've got starlight green eggers that we got at Tractor Supply this spring. I've done video after video on that. Currently we have Morans, we have Cochin Bantams, Frizzle Cochin Bantams, and the Wyandottes, the blue lace, silver, and gold. At what age do we cull a rooster? When he starts crowing and he's big enough. If looking at his chest, that's really it. So I don't cull my hens. They're there for a purpose. But if you end up with too many roosters, you get in a bind, especially if you hatch for other people. If you get into this wanting to make money, you can forget it. You can forget it, guys. People wanted chicks from us. They wanted eggs during this whole craze where the price of eggs was $5 a dozen at the store. People wanted chicks from us. They wanted to get into chickens. People will tell you, I want 12 blue lace red Wyandottes. You go through all the trouble of collecting the eggs. You go through the trouble of incubating. You move roosters around, separate them for so many days so you know they've got the right rooster and they're pure and all that. You will hatch these chicks and people will bail out on you. You cannot depend on people trying to make money with farm animals. You can't. You might with cattle or alpacas or something else, but you cannot with a backyard flock. People will back out. People would rather be, I don't know why they just couldn't tell you, like, hey, I just don't want these anymore. I had a few do that, but most people just won't even respond. They'll tell you they want all this stuff, and then they'll just fly the coop. So you end up with more roosters that way. So this year, we're probably not going to hatch a whole lot of chickens. I'm going to hatch French black copper Morans because we're getting low on our hens, just with chicken hawks, to be honest. But otherwise, that's pretty much it this year. I'm not going to go on the whole hatching craze. So if anybody wants to know how to hatch, they need to go back to the chicken playlist because I don't know if I'll be making many videos on that. Okay, next. This is kind of a random question. This is the most Number one question I am asked, no matter where I go, on here, wherever, people ask me, what part of Alabama are you in? Well, I was a little bit leery to tell everybody in the beginning. I just never disclosed that. I'm kind of private, and believe it or not, I'm shy. Like doing this live stream, I'm struggling right now because I know people are watching me live. But I live in Coosa County, Alabama. You can look it up. It's a no man's land county. We do have the Pinhoti Trail here. That's brought a lot of attention here to this county. It's the very tip of Appalachia. We're in central Alabama, and people come down to hike this trail, and the Pinhoti is the very tip of the Appalachian Trail, tip of the Appalachian Mountains. So people get on this trail and walk it all the way to Maine or wherever it is. But that's a huge thing around here. It's brought hikers, and good luck to them. There's a lot of timber rattlers and all in these woods, so good luck to them out there. It's pretty rough. Last night there was coyotes yelping down at our garage. So, you know, I mean, we're out in rural Alabama. There's nothing here. Closest town to me has a caution light. So you can drive to the next county, and there's cities that's all built up from Chick-fil-A to Hobby Lobby, you know, 15 minutes from me. But I am out in the woods, and I prefer to stay that way. So there's nothing here. It's there's a lot of good land, though, here in Coosa County, and I wouldn't want it any other way. So anyways, all right. Have you considered doing more recipe videos? Well, I have. I guess that gets into prepping and preserving. I have considered that. Yeah, I see another central Alabama. People thought I was in Huntsville for some reason. I don't know why. Somebody thought I was in Huntsville. Somebody thought I was in Birmingham. No, I'm out in the sticks. And people kind of rag us down here. You know, we're just out in the sticks. But hey, I'm proud of it. That's me, and that's how I was raised. Recipe videos. Guys, it's hard for me filming on a phone to film a recipe video. Somebody like, speaking of Alabama, Brenda Gantz, she can film on a phone and does great. I cannot. It's something about me. I cook every day. I cook 3 meals a day. I cannot film as well. I'm going to try to do that. People have been asking about that. I'm just not, I can cook, and I can doggone cook, but it's hard for me to film it and try to explain it to you. And I don't know if people want to see that or not. So maybe I will, maybe I won't. Prepping, what should we start out with? Prepping. How we started, I ended up with so much food, I didn't know what to do. So I started putting it all back. If you're gardening, you need to know how to preserve. I wish I had canned sooner than I first started canning. I froze everything the first year. It was terrible. I wasn't able to use half of the food that I froze, like just freezing whole tomatoes. That was just terrible. Terrible. They're like billiard balls. It was just not, the chickens wouldn't even mess with them. I wish I had been able to can earlier. I was scared. I thought I was going to hurt myself. I've got this glass stovetop. I looked up all this stuff about don't use a glass stovetop. Some people say they've used it with no trouble. I live in a very old house, 1920s. It's 100 years old. It's been added on to. It's very, very old. I don't want to mess with anything in here. And the glass stovetop, it's not that old, but it's still old. So I'm just kind of leery about all that stuff. But I got the Presto electric canner. Haven't looked back since. Water bath, pressure can in it. It'll hold 5 regular mouth quarts, 4 wide mouth quarts. And I'm trying to think about the water bathing. I think 7 wide mouth pints, maybe more. Maybe give or take. Okay, you can fit a whole load in there. And this year I got a Nesco electric canner. It's done great. So I can, and all you do is plug it in a wall and punch a button. That's it. There's nothing to it. But once I got canning, I started realizing, honestly, the use of mason jars. So then I got a dehydrator. My parents got me that for Christmas. So then I started dehydrating, putting all my dehydrated food in mason jars. Then we ended up just growing and growing and growing our stockpile, and ended up stocking up on flour, beans, your basics is what I would go for. Cornmeal, sugar. If you don't have the means to just stock sugar on the shelf, can jam, can jelly, can something that is just high in this stuff. That way you won't have to have bags of it sitting everywhere. That's more of what I'm doing. I'm trying to, instead of just putting stuff on the shelf, I'm trying to get it in Pop-A-Top recipes. That way I can just have it right there. Because I understand having sugar on the shelf, and I do too. But the problem is if you have no power, if the power's out and you're in a natural emergency, okay? If you have no power, you have no means to cook, if everything's electric like mine is, what are you going to do with that sugar sitting there? You're not going to be able to cook. So I like having something on the shelf, like power's out, I can go grab that muscadine jam, pop it open, put it on some bread, I'm good to go. I've got that sugar. So I'm trying to stock this stuff in recipes on the shelves. I think having sugar on the shelf is great. A quick snack, stuff like peanut butter, the jam. If you can't make this stuff, go buy it. Go stock jelly, stuff like that. To me, it just makes more sense. Canned soup. Can your own soup. If you don't can your own soup, buy canned soup. I've never canned soup before. So, you know, I don't know. Just get what you can on the shelf, but try to think, as someone who's lived through no power for 8 days, as somebody who's lived through living out in the country and you're having to drive from all the way to here to Timbuktu to get a burger, I'm telling you, have meals on the shelf instead of just sacks of sugar for an apocalypse. You're going to want something meal ready to go. But you can start with just basic stuff with prepping. People like the videos that I do on famine. They like the food situation. They like stuff like that, but I'm afraid people are just going out and getting beans. They're not getting, think of what you eat every day. That is what we have prepped. Like last night, I made venison backstrap stew. Potatoes come off the shelf. Tomatoes come off the shelf. Carrots, I had a can of carrots. And then that's it. And then the venison backstrap, like I had everything here. Now I've been wanting to do videos on outdoor cooking. That I would like to learn personally for myself, but we've been in a drought and I've just not been comfortable with that. We've been under a no burn ban. They finally lifted that, I think, for parts of the state, but it's just not still where it needs to be. So anyways, but yes, we can a lot. I've done a video on all the stuff that I have. I've not shown you both shelves I've got together. I'm looking at one right now in my dining room, but we have well over 1,000 jars of canned food. Now, how did I get all those jars? I went and bought those years ago on sale at a Walmart 2 counties away. They had them on sale. I was looking for sales. I lucked up. That was it. I just pure lucked up on these jars. My uncle's given a lot of stuff. He was big into canning. He just gave it to me. I was so blessed with that. But never turned down a mason jar. You can always put stuff in it, like dehydrated food. You can use stuff. You can do whatever. So always never turn down a mason jar. Save your rings. I've decided to save rings. Save your old lids. Don't recan with them. That's just my personal preference. But the old lids, guys, if the seal's broken, you can still dehydrate with those. You can get a pump to vacuum seal these dehydrated foods in these jars. That's my next thing I'm getting, because I'm getting so big into dehydrating right now. It's crazy. It's easy. There's nothing to it. The fruit is great, and I love having a snack on the shelf. Instead of going out and buying a bag of cookies, you can have apple chips sitting there. You can have banana chips sitting there. My husband loves that stuff. He raided the jars. I've got to go get more to dehydrate. So, and I always say my husband, because he's a big guy. He's 6'7", and he likes his meat and potatoes. So if he likes some of these recipes, then, or some of this food, I promise you, it'll pass. Because I can eat anything, but he likes his meat and potatoes now. He wants it done right, a full meal every day. So let's see here. I looked up on a 50% sale at a grocery store. Yes, I was grabbing their jars and lids. Yes, Hilltop. Yes, that's because you can put up your own food. That's yes. I have not canned meat. I've commented to you about canning meat. I have got to learn how to can meat. I'm going to tell you why. I am so excited. I have been doing, this is our last question. Someone said, why are you doing all of this hunting stuff? Well, I have never been hunting until this year. I think last year I went once with my husband. It was a flop. There was no good. We live, again, rural. This is all family land that I live on. My parents just got a piece of property near where I'm at, and we have been hunting there. Well, I have never been until this year. My husband's been a couple times. Now, at that property, he has his own. He hunts continuously. He is an avid hunter. Turkey season, deer season. He's not really into dove or quail, or whatever the rest of it is. But he loves to hunt deer. He loves to hunt deer. So this year I said, you know what? I'm going to go, and I'm going to tell you, freezer camp with these chickens really kind of promoted me to go. I saw that it was not that bad. The whole experience, it was not that bad. It never bothered me about hunting. Deer are pests down here. They're pretty to look at. My grandmother loves them to look at them. Some people down here feed them. They actually feed them in their yard just to see them. That's what they've said. I don't know. I don't want them anywhere near me because A, I don't want to mess up my car hitting them. That happens about once a week on this road. Two, I don't want them in my garden. So I'm totally fine with it. But I just never felt interested in it until this year. So when I decided to go hunting with him, I was hooked. I was hooked. We went out there Sunday night, saw some deer, wasn't really sure, didn't know if I could, do it. And I've shot before, all this other stuff, not deer, but I've target practiced it. I knew I could shoot. I just wasn't quite sure. And to be honest, I didn't know if it was a good deer or not. Like, hey, is that big enough? Should I get that? And I was having him kind of walk me through it. So Tuesday night, or Tuesday afternoon, we went back and about 3 o'clock, got my first deer, a little 100-pound spike. I was so proud by myself. And husband loaded him up. We got him to the processor, and we're going to be eating that. So I've cooked venison every night for the past, I don't know how many years for my husband, but I've never gotten it myself. And I feel so accomplished. Like, guys, I did that. So now I would definitely need help getting one out of the woods. He talked about getting something for my car, like a basket to put it on. I drive an SUV that's kind of all-terrain, but he said maybe we could get something like that way you could try to do it yourself, because I'm stout, I can lift, but as far as doing all that by myself, I couldn't. So I'm gonna go back. Like, I was outside yesterday trying to scope around. So I am all about the hunting. It just kind of made everything full circle for me and just brought it home. If you're not into that, that's fine. If you are into that, that's great. I wasn't into it. It was nothing wrong with it. I just wasn't interested in it. But now that I saw, like, hey, I went out there and did that. I did that. So, I felt very accomplished with that. So I've been putting up kind of like game camera pictures on our shorts. I've been showing you pictures of that stuff. And the reason being is, guys, I don't want you women out there, I don't want you to feel intimidated, because when I took my shot the other night, I said, there's 2 deer. And I knew when I shot which one I was going for, but I think I aimed a little bit low. One's head was down feeding, the other one was standing there, and they were just like this. And my husband said, I didn't even see 2 deer. And I thought, hey, he's the expert hunter. Like, I knew there was 2 deer. So it just made me feel good, because he is A1 on this stuff. He's got deer heads everywhere, and he is the hunter of the family. So it made me feel real good. And I just thought, hey, like, I'm a girl. I'm a 130-pound girl, and I can get out here and do this. So it just made me feel accomplished, and it really just kind of brought the homesteading thing full circle. Just like, this is in our backyard. Again, it's very respectful. It was very clean. It was very commendable. And, it just feels different when you're the worker of your land, and you're the steward, I should say. And it's very respectful. So I'm hooked. I think if this rain clears up, I'm trying to look through the curtain, we might go back this afternoon. He said, I didn't know I was creating this monster here. So I may want to go hunting more than him this year. I don't know. But anyways, guys, that's a few questions. I'll try to look back through the comments. I was seeing there was some here, and see if anybody had any more questions. You can comment up under any video. You can email us at any time. We're Harmon Homestead. The one thing, excuse me, the one thing that I want to see for this channel is to grow. And guys, it's because years ago, when I first started this, there was nowhere to turn. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who to ask. Everybody in our family just did not do this, or the people that did were long gone. There was no one to tell me what to do. And these YouTube channels I follow, it took me a year to find a lot of these. I didn't know who was good. I didn't know who showed what. I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't even think to go to YouTube to find someone to help me. I think I Googled something, and then it took me to YouTube. So people tell us that the 3 things that we've done that they like and that brought them to this channel was how to help a shrink wrap chick, how to grow in Dollar Tree stackable planters, and corn. And guys, if you could see the first year that I planted corn, I didn't believe in fertilizer. I said, I am a tightwad. I'm not going to buy fertilizer. We're good. I'm not going to use this. There was nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. I was just too cheap because I didn't really feel like the garden would do well anyway. So I planted all of this corn with no fertilizer. If it was supposed to be 10 feet tall, it grew 10 inches. I said after that year, never again. So then the next year, or no, that same year, the crows ate all my corn. So I learned about that. I had we still laugh about it, a Christmas garden. I hung up fishing line all around this pasture garden. I literally took old Christmas ornaments that were plastic and strung them all along that string to keep the deer and the crows out. Anything bright, shiny, flashy. It was an embarrassment to the whole community. But I was so determined to get that corn to grow. So it was terrible. It was a joke, y'all. It was just pitiful. The garden was so embarrassing. My husband put up with it. He never said a cross word, but I know it was embarrassing, but I was so determined to get that corn to grow. So the next year I went out there, I said, okay, I've got to start over and I've got to use fertilizer. We've got to do this right. So I went out with triple 13 and then we side dressed it with ammonium nitrate once, my bad. The best corn, the most beautiful corn. We had a great stand this year too. I only grow peaches and cream, but a lot of people have trouble with corn. So that's why I do a lot of corn videos, and apparently that's brought a lot of people here. But the tomato blight, again, the Dollar Tree stackable planters, guys, people say, hey, there's green stalks. I know there is. I found out later on, and they're a lot more expensive, and I didn't know about them. But I go to Dollar Tree a good bit, or I used to. So, and those were sitting right there in Dollar Tree. That's the only reason I did those planters. They're very cheap. They're easy, though. They're easy to do. They're easy to, handle, and hey, it's worked for us. In fact, I'm going to plant something this spring in those. I'm going to do more lettuce. So they've worked for us. I want this channel to grow. I want to get to people to try to help them so they will not feel intimidated to garden or do anything on their own, because I did not know what I was doing. Didn't know, not a clue, and we're doing it now. So, we've come a long ways. We still got a long ways to go. I'm seeing this homestead evolve every day, just like this channel is growing. It's, we're kind of forming who we are here. So I'm trying to get it to grow. I need y'all's help. Continue to support us if you can. I appreciate y'all. Again, this is y'all's channel, not mine. Let's see here. Fresh horse manure in between my corn rows. Best corn I've ever grown. I've heard of that, horse manure. A lot of people use cow manure down here. We use chicken manure because we've got it just by the bucket full. So we've got, by the truckloads, we've got tons of chicken manure. Duck. You can't collect duck manure. If you know anything about ducks, you can't. It's just a mess, okay? But people say, I guess you could scoop out their pen. Their pen is really just on the ground though. It's not, there's no way to collect it. A lot of people put ducks in their garden to walk through it. Now, they will go after some leaves if you put them there, but otherwise they stay out of my garden. They just don't even care about it. But the duck manure, they say, is great. They make a solution with it and dilute it down. It's got ammonia, but I don't think it's as high as chicken manure. But we just side dressed everything we've got with chicken manure. And that second year that I grew corn, I trenched with ammonium nitrate and I did chicken manure on the other side, all the way down that pasture garden. And that was, I believe, this year was my better corn just because the conditions hit right at the planting time. But the chicken is strong. You have to dilute that manure, either bury it deep and pray for rain. It must rain on all of this. You cannot put this stuff straight on your corn. It will burn it up, even with rain if you go too heavy. So feather meal on my corn this year. I've heard of feather meal. We've never used it. You use fresh horse manure. Hey, whatever works. I use the chicken fresh, but I buried it. I'm going to say six inches to a foot deep, and then I pretty much mounded it up. I just made trenches with the corn. Side dressed it that way and did it one on each side, but my rows were so far apart. So this year, hopefully we'll have an electric fence in the pasture garden. I'll be able to put pumpkins down there. We're going to kind of do the Three Sisters. I'm not doing the Three Sisters down there. I'm just doing the Three Sisters plants. I'm going to do corn. But instead of beans, I'm going to do field peas. They're great for nitrogen as well. We did not grow any this year. Pink-eyed purple hull peas. And then we're going to grow our usual peaches and cream corn. Up here at our house in the raised beds, we're going to do dent corn. And guys, I'm so excited about this. I ordered some more seeds from M.I. Gardner. I've told you I've done that before. And he had like a Black Friday sale this past week, and it was get Merry 20, get 20% off. So every seed packet, it used to be $1. He had to go up on his price. He went to $2. So they were all $1.60 each. So I loaded up pretty pretty bad bill there. I got pretty rough with these seeds. But I am going to try dent corn, and I am going to try to cross-pollinate this stuff back here in my raised bed where I can control the conditions. So what I've done is I've gotten the blue Hopi corn. I've gotten, I can't pronounce it. It's a long Spanish name, but it's green dent corn. And then I've got another one. And I am going to try to cross this because I saw an article from Ohio State University, I believe, and it was talking about how far corn needed to be apart to not cross-pollinate. Well, it showed that one row, like 2 foot apart. They had a yellow cob, a blue cob, and then the middle, and they were all 2 feet apart. And the one in the middle that they planted had multicolored because it was cross-pollinated between the yellow and the blue. What I'm going to try to do is intentionally cross-pollinate dent corn up here and try to have my own, Indian corn. I've got Indian corn as well that I'm going to plant this spring, so we're going to see. I'm going to try that. I just want some pretty corn, but I'm mainly wanting dent corn to have for flour or for chickens and use corn cobs and stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I think that'll be a fun experiment. You can get any colored dent corn you want. You can get pink, you can get whatever, and people pay a lot of money for this stuff at farmers markets in the fall around here. They like that stuff, pumpkins and that. So if you are into a homesteading business, that might be something to look for. I just want to grow dent corn. I've never grown it. I want to because I've got sweet corn nailed. So we have got that down pat now. No more Christmas garden, no more ornaments out in the garden. But anyways, guys, I think that's going to be a wrap today. I'm trying to look through some of the comments, and if I've missed anything, I'll go back through here and read the chat and see if I can answer anything. But I think we've pretty much kind of wrapped it up. But yes, we are growing, and I don't foresee anything we need to change. I really don't. I think we're doing well here as far as our homestead. We've kind of got everything in a good, smooth rhythm, and we're enjoying it. And you might see Mr. Homestead. He did his smoking meat video. You might see him more on the camera. He is very camera shy, and believe it or not, I am too. So that's how bad I wanted to help people, is to get behind the camera. And I just never would have thought that we would have gotten this far. So I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all for all y'all have done. So anyways, we're going to jump off here, and I'm going to go feed these chickens and might end up in the woods this afternoon. We'll see you guys next time on Harmon Homestead.